Amazing stuff, guys. So I am back with 5 more questions of critical reasoning in this particular session. I love critical reasoning. In the sessions, you've realized how orgasmic it is to get a critical reasoning question correct. Fair? And I love these kind of questions here is because if it say which of the following most accurately states the point, you would realize that there is a reason I'm taking these questions today is because on the CAT, if you see the questions on para-summary are not quintessential para-summary questions, right? They're a mix of some conclusion, some para-summary, and I think you would be greatly helped if you happen to these 4-5 questions with me, right? So let's look at the first question. The main measure of national economic activity, which is the GDP, simply totals the monetary values of goods and services produced. And I think fair enough definition. We do know that GDP is nothing, but it's the monetary value of goods plus services. Agreed? This is fairly straightforward. So what I would do there is, I would say that this sentence is nothing but giving me a definition of something. It is devoid of a claim, right? This probably is some kind of analysis that the author is coming out. It ignores social costs such as depletion of natural resources or environmental pollutions. Maybe the author is trying to say, oh, you should not be doing this. I'll hold on to that thought, but it does seem like it ignores, and the author might feel this is important, and therefore the whole reason of citing this is because he believes that natural resources or environmental pollution are important. Some economists argue, now see, this is not about the author. It clearly says some economists argue. So you need to understand who is saying and what is being spoken. So the important part here is on RCs as well, who is saying this and what is being stated, right? Some economists argue that to place a dollar figure on these costs in GDP, so maybe we are talking about natural resources or pollution, accounting would be to introduce value judgments into what should remain an objective measure. So I think the scientists are trying to say here is somehow I got a feel that GDP should largely be objective. That is what he's trying to say, and should not have things that are subjective. And there is an assumption that social costs are actually subjective. However, very, very critical word, and I think I'm going to look at what the author is trying to say. In excluding these costs, the GDP already contains an implicit value judgment valuing them at 0. Agreed? So because you're assuming that they do not have a value is itself a value judgment. So the author, by saying that you're already making an error that you think you should not do, maybe the author is calling out a hypocrisy of these economists, right? So the keyword that I could probably bring out in my mind was the hypocrisy here. That's the keyword that I will try to see in the options. Let's see. Which of the following most accurately states the point toward which the passage is directed? Let's see. The GDP as currently measured does not contain information that would make it possible to estimate social costs such as depletion of natural resources or environmental pollution. This is true, maybe? You might think that this is true. The GDP as currently measured does not contain, but does it not contain information? Was the paragraph anywhere about whether the GDP as currently measured contains information, or it was a conscious choice of leaving these things out? It was a conscious choice of leaving these things out. So this particular part of the option is a problem, which kind of puts this option as at least not true. Also, this is not the main point. I think the main point here was that you are actually making an error which you say that we would do. That is the kind of thought we are going to look forward to. So fairly eliminated. The economists are being inconsistent, very close to the word hypocritic here, because you're probably calling out something else and making the same mistake. The economists are being inconsistent in excluding social cost from the GDP on the grounds that including them would not be objective. Why are they being inconsistent? Because they are saying, oh, those are not objective, but you actually are making some kind of value judgment that is objective. So isn't that a paradox? Brilliant framing of an option and brilliant framing of a question. So this is an option for now. I would keep on hold. C says, the economists fail to realize that environmental pollution and the depletion of natural resources have social cost. Are they failing to realize that they have social cost? Or is this about the subjectivity and the value judgment? It is about subjectivity and the value judgments. They are not failing to realize. They're saying, okay, these might have cost, but then you bring in some kind of value judgments that they're not happy about. So fairly eliminated. Social cost, such as depletion of natural resources and environmental pollution, okay, I am in scope, can be determined as objectively as can the total. Was the author trying to say that, or was the author trying to call out the hypocrisy? The author was trying to call out the hypocrisy. He was not saying it can be determined. It might be true. But the larger point is not about social cost can be determined. The larger point here is that if the economists are saying that there is a value judgment to it, by leaving these out, you're actually making an implicit value judgment. So not the main point. The official answer here is clearly is option number B. Difficult question, but I hope you realize that the CAT para summary or CAT main conclusion to get a 99.9 is going to test you on such kind of questions. Let's go to the next one, and which is extremely interesting question again. To be accepted as a member at the Brown Country Club, one must, see, must is almost a compulsion. One must have a net worth of over $10 billion. So one is, you should probably no, you must in fact, I'll leave out the word should as well. $10 million and above, and must not have any connections to the entertainment industry. Now you would say, what kind of a weird clause is this? But that's a clause. We'll have to probably buy here, connections to the entertainment industry should not be there. I felt this was sunny though. Connections to the entertainment industry. Robert Chase, one specific example. The publishing magnate is someone who's ultra rich, has a net worth of $5 billion and has been accepted as a member at the Brown Country Club. Has a net worth of 5 billion. It says million. That's the first mistake I did when I was doing this question. Oh, $5 billion, and how has he's been accepted? Because it should have been over 10 million. But retrospectively, when I came back to this question, I realized, oh shit, this was an oh shit moment. Billion is not equal to billion. So okay, I am actually accepting this condition for Robert Chase. So pretty easy question if you look forward to, but I'll show you where does it get tricky. It says, given the statement above, which of the following conclusions must be true? So maybe I need to show that he has no connections to the entertainment industry, directly or passively. Let's see. Chase's membership was pre-approved. It doesn't matter. Chase does not know anyone who has connections to the entertainment industry, and I picked this option as the first thing. But this is actually a relative pronoun, right? So this is actually called as a relative pronoun, and relative pronouns, what do? Is they do not, classical grammar here, they do not jump verbs. So what do is they most likely, remember the word most likely, refer to the noun it is attached to. Is that all right? It is attached to. So this who is actually referring to anyone has connection to the entertainment industry. Should it be about Chase not knowing anyone or Chase himself not having any connections? It should be Chase himself not having any connections. So B is eliminated, and almost none of you would have eliminated option number B here. I just hope you realize this through the concept of relative pronoun. Chase's brother, who has also petitioned for membership at Brown, has a net worth of 10, considers it beneath his dignity to associate. His petition will be accepted. Doesn't matter anything about Chase's brother. Chase has not financed any Hollywood movies. The first thing, I did not love this answer. And that kind of made me brought back to B more. Assuming I did not know the concept of relative pronoun, but this is not going to be an answer. There is an assumption here that because you have not financed any Hollywood movies and because you are a publishing magnate, not directly related to the entertainment industry. It might make you believe that he has no connection to the entertainment industry. So by having $5 billion, he's accepting the first situation. By showing this, am I trying to passively show that I have no connection to the entertainment industry? And therefore, the official answer and the trickier answer here is Delhi. Extremely tricky, but I hope you've got this question now. Let's go to the next one. It is probably within the reach of human technology to make the climate of Mars inhabitable. Probably, okay, maybe a claim coming out here. It might be several centuries before people could live there, even with breathing apparatuses. But some of the world's great temples and cathedrals took centuries to build. So author is trying to say, great, it might take several centuries, but even the world's great temples and cathedrals took centuries to build. So maybe it is fine to spend that time in what? In making the climate of Mars inhabitable, or at least putting in efforts. Research efforts are now justified if there is even a chance, even maybe a smallest chance of making another planet inhabitable. Besides, the intellectual exercise of understanding how the Martian atmosphere might be changed could help in understanding atmospheric changes inadvertently triggered by human activity on Earth. Look at these two sentences. So it says research efforts now are justified is being written X, then it is being written beside Y. That means Y and X are playing on the almost the same level field, and probably these two are probably trying to say that because you might have an understanding of atmospheric changes triggered by human activity on Earth and the research efforts are justified even if there is a smallest chance, I think fine to spend that time to make the, or at least put efforts to make the climate of Mars inhabitable. I think that is what we are trying to say. This looks to be the main idea, and this seems to put in the support here. The main point of the argument is that, let's see, it is probably technologically possible for humankind to alter the climate of Mars. Yes, this is true. So what I did was I kept this option on hold. It would take several centuries to make Mars even marginally inhabitable. I do not know even marginally. And I did keep this option as well on hold. But do you realize that probably option number A was a better hold than option number B? I did keep option number B inferior to option number A. Research efforts aimed at discovering how to change the climate of Mars are justified by this and this. And this looks very, very paraphrased to what we are doing. Look to this. And climate of Mars to be inhabitable. Very, very strongly the main point. It looks like a mix of conclusion as well, but I told you, right, the conclusions are justified here. And when I am putting this as the main point, I can eliminate option number A, and my new on hold option is option number C. Efforts to change the climate of Mars could facilitate understanding of the Earth's climate. Okay, but was this the main point, or was this a strong solid support? Maybe could be strong solid support, and therefore we would probably not be picking this option, and my official answer here would be option number C. I would probably be struggling between A versus B versus C here. The struggle was real. The struggle will be real. Let's go to the next question. Companies often reorganize in order to adapt to changes in the world around them. Great. But the marketplace changes much faster than organizations can reorganize. So, what we are trying to say here is that marketplace changes faster, right, than companies reorganization time. So maybe the companies are not doing the right thing. Maybe they need to reorganize faster, but that's something beyond the argument. Let's see. If you choose a simple organization, then you can then spend your effort on teaching the people in the organization to be flexible and adapt to changes in the marketplace. So maybe the author is trying to say, okay, if you do this, then maybe you can adapt to changes. So in other words, are we trying to say rather than reorganizing, am I asking you to probably build a simple organization? Yes. It looks very clean to infer that. But I realized that when we were doing the questions, when I was solving this, it wasn't as easy as it comes out to be right now. Because we were so fixated on this line that we kind of realized that this line is probably more important, the second line, because it seems closer to the claim of what the author is making. And this looks like the context setting of the paragraph, right? So let's see which of the following conclusions can be most properly inferred from the premises above. Companies should invest in staff training to increase their adaptability. Fair. Should invest in staff training, spend your effort on teaching the people to be flexible to adaptability. This is an option I kept on hold. But I'm not very happy because it doesn't talk about choosing a simple organization. It has to be about simple organization because this is needed for this. But I keep this option on hold for now. Companies should choose a simple organizational structure and keep it that way. Why? Is because then you can spend your effort. Why is being answered in the paragraph, right? And if why is being answered in the paragraph, this could be a conclusion. And therefore, I will eliminate option number A and my new best friend is option number B here. Companies should continuously reorganize to keep up with changes. Oh, that's not going to get anything to you. So can I say this is a contrasting option? So fairly eliminated. And companies should choose a matrix structure which can be reorganized more rapidly. I really do not think we were talking about matrix structure and to be reorganized more rapidly. Anything about that. Option number D is eliminated. And therefore the official answer here is option number B. Should have struggled between A versus B, and I realized this struggle was again real. But you need to see what is the author trying to say, and the why becomes the background of it. So you need to focus on the what of it. The official answer here is option number B. Let's go to the next one and the final one in the video today. Musicologist is saying something. Classification of a musical instrument depends on the mechanical action through which it produces music. So what I would write here is mechanical action is actually helping me to classify a musical instrument. Context being set here. So the piano is properly called. So I think the word so is important and piano is actually super important, and I am actually calling this as a percussion instrument. Let's see what is the reason behind it. Not a stringed instrument. So we are calling this as a percussion instrument and we are not calling this as a stringed instrument. Very interesting, right? A piano does have string, you might think. That means this is related to more to, the percussion is related to mechanical action and the string not as much. Even though the vibrations of the piano string is what makes it sound, the strings are caused to vibrate by the impact of hammer. So what we are probably assuming is the impact of hammer is a mechanical action, and because the mechanical action is creating the string, we are actually going to the root cause of the music here is, which is impact of hammers. So hammer is mechanical and this is kind of instigating the string, but we are focused on the hammer here. Which one of the following most accurately expresses the main conclusion of the musicologist argument? So it's fine, he's talked about a process. We have to talk about the piano here because so this is the claim and this is what is supporting it. Musical instruments should be classified according to the mechanical actions through which. Great, but this talks about musical instruments and we have to talk about piano. Musical instruments should not be classified based on the way musicians interact. Nothing about being spoken. Absolutely weird option. One of the easiest option that I can eliminate. The piano should be classified as a string instrument rather than, the author was not making a case against it. Easy elimination again. It is correct to classify the piano as a percussion instrument rather than, because the hammer is the mechanical part and because it is not dependent on string, rather dependent on the impact of hammer, I think it is correct to classify this as a percussion instrument. And therefore, the official answer here would be option number D. Great question. I probably did not struggle on some of these options, but I had to ensure that this has to be about piano, and I might slightly would have struggled between A versus D. The struggle was not real as much as the struggle was real in the previous few questions, but it was a straightforward D here. But I hope you realize what we were trying to do, and this is one exercise that will help you on the para summary part as well, the way at least the CAT asks you. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the other series of this, or other videos of this series. I'm so sorry. See you. Bye-bye.